The second half of Season 7 is now underway. Let's resume with Fame and Misfortune. After rediscovering and restoring their old friendship journal, Twilight and the others decide to publish and release it to the general public. But the messages they intend to send with it become overshadowed by the overnight celebrity statuses they end up acquiring. For the first time, I can't begin this review by saying who was responsible for writing this episode, because I honestly have no idea. The credits say it was written by none other than M.A. Larson, but he has gone on record to say that he merely had an idea for an episode like this some time ago, but didn't actually write it. Some people assumed that Jim Miller wrote some parts of it, but he debunked this theory on Twitter by stating that he both does not and cannot write for the show, because since last season, MLP has become an Animation Writers Guild series, which he's not a member of. So it's still a mystery who actually wrote this one. But whoever it is, I'd say they definitely did a great job here, though there'll no doubt be a fair few who'll disagree. Seeing the Friendship Journal return, as well as introduced to Starlight, is a wonderful throwback to some of the highlights of the 4th season, and when their stories are released for all of Equestria to read about and learn from, what unfolds for both the characters and the viewers is something bizarre, bold, and in many ways, actually kinda brilliant. The script is brimming with meta-humor and fandom references, which is where Fame and Misfortune has proven to be controversial. After the Friendship Journal flies off the bookshelves, the main 6 find themselves having to deal with the newfound fame that for some includes adoring fans, and for others includes harsh critics. Throughout the narrative, Pinkie Pie becomes frustrated at ponies only seeing her as a comedic foil and not taking her seriously. Rarity descends into a mental breakdown after her lessons in the book receive a negative response that becomes detrimental to her business. Applejack struggles to maintain her hospitality for her suddenly extensive fan club. Fluttershy gets overwhelmed by others questioning her lessons and slow progress with gaining confidence, while Rainbow Dash can't get a minute's peace without someone reminding her of how awesome she is. Later on, Twilight has to defend herself and her friends from some who don't consider some of her choices and mistakes to be believable. It's clear that whoever is writing these scenes is using them as an allegory for the way some people in fandoms tend to act, including nitpicking every detail and arguing over who's the best character and who's had the best stories and developments. One of my personal favourites is seeing Fluttershy respond to her critics by stating that progress does require time and patience, and learning a lesson once doesn't mean you never make the same mistake again and never need any future reminders. It's an argument I've definitely found myself using on more than one occasion.
What is it, every pony?
We want to know why Fluttershy keeps learning the same thing over and over again. Be assertive already!
Even I've learned more than she has. Why can't I be in the book?
What? Really? Are you attacking my friend because you want to be in a book?
It's okay. I got this, girls. Listen up! I am more assertive. And yes, it took me a while to get there. But can you honestly say that you could learn something one time and completely change who you are? I didn't think so.
Wow. You're way different from the Fluttershy in the book. I don't know how I feel about that.
While it may not always be flattering, it is often a very amusing and even necessary story, packed with social commentary regarding the pressures of fame and some of the over-the-top enthusiasm and criticism that comes from the general public. Now, there have been a fair number of people who have seen this as a personal attack on the fandom, with some raising concern that this is how the show's staff really feel about us. While I can understand that assessment, I really can't agree with it myself. So here's my argument. The cast and crew have already made it well known that they do love and embrace the fandom, hence why we got episodes like Slice of Life and Stranger Than Fanfiction, and why many of them are still willing to meet and greet the fans at conventions. And given that this episode premiered the exact same weekend as BronyCon, that last point is crucial, even if such events are coincidental. But there are those out there who do things like nitpick and overanalyze every detail and create unnecessary drama. And a lot of the time, these things just seem silly. And when given some thought, if something like this does feel silly, isn't it best just to laugh about it? I think that's what this episode is ultimately trying to accomplish. While it isn't speaking against the idea of analysing or theorising, which is fun to do, especially for a show that has more layers and depth to it than many might think, it is trying to send a message that it really shouldn't be taken more seriously than needed. I mean, one of My Little Pony's best qualities is how it can be smart, fun, and universally appealing without taking itself too seriously. But it's done in a satirical and comedic fashion that encourages us to laugh about it. That's why Fame and Misfortune feels important. Sometimes we do need that reminder for us to learn from, but we also need a good laugh about it. The third act sees the main six all collaborate for a song titled We're Not Flawless, a brilliantly catchy melody that sees them lovingly acknowledging and embracing their imperfections, and explaining how they all make their friendship strong and everlasting. In a humorously interesting twist though, it ends up solving nothing, as crowds of ponies continue to argue amongst themselves. But then the episode's ending, which sees two ponies named Tooleroola and Coconut Cream express how the journal has helped repair and strengthen their fraying friendship, serves as a wonderful conclusion that I like to think is the show's way of saying that they know these stories and characters have had a hugely inspiring impact on so many of us these last 7 years, and they are thankful for that response. The episode is not without its missteps though. While much of the comedy is funny, it is a little too on the nose at times, particularly with lines like Twilight was better before she got wings and are Pinky and Applejack related or what? While some of the town's ponies are written to be unreasonably irritating, seemingly just for the purpose of enhancing the message. But it's still a very enjoyable time, and credit where it's due to the writers for addressing a subject matter that they must have known was going to be met with some controversy. This was a brave risk for them to take, and I do have to praise them for taking it. Fame and Misfortune mixes excellent humour and commentary for a hilarious, clever, and surprisingly important episode, and I'm going to give it a gold star score of 9 out of 10.
So tell me what you got.